Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will be studying about different operations that can be performed on Python tuples. So as we have studied in strings and lists also in the previous videos in the playlist, that there are four major kinds of operations that can be performed on any sequence data type. These are concatenation, membership operation, repetition and slicing. So starting with how can you perform concatenation in tuples in Python. Okay, so concatenation will again be performed using the concatenation operator, which is the plus sign, and using concatenation you can combine the elements of two existing tuples and then assign it to the new tuple or just print it, whatever you want to do. Okay, so suppose you have a tuple 1 and the elements are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and similarly you have a second tuple with the elements 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now when you apply concatenation operator on both of them, you will get a new tuple in which the elements of tuple 1 will be present first. As you can see, the resulting tuple has the elements of tuple 1 first, followed by the elements from tuple 2. Okay, so you need to take care that the concatenation operator does not mix the values in any order. No, it simply takes the elements of the data type or the variable that is specified on the left hand side and then follows it with the elements of the variable that are present on the right hand side. Okay, so now these were the tuples that had integer values, both of them. Now we can do the same thing with the other data type elements that are present in the tuple. And if you want to assign the result of this concatenation to a new variable, then you can do that also. So for example, you have two variables of type tuple. These are tuple 3 and tuple 4. These contain the strings red, green, blue and cyan, magenta and yellow, black. Now, when you write this kind of a statement, what it will do, it is creating a new variable named tuple 5 and assigning the result of the concatenation of tuple 3 and tuple 4 into tuple 5. And when you print tuple 5, you will see that it contains the elements of tuple 3, which are red, green and blue, and then followed by the elements that were initially present in tuple 4. Okay, so you can use concatenation to assign the result to a new tuple variable. Okay, or another use of using the concatenation operator is to extend the existing tuple variable. So in the previous case, we created a new tuple, but if we want to modify the existing tuple, since we learned in the previous video that tuples itself are not mutable, they are immutable data types. So what you can do is use the existing tuple, say tuple 6, which has the value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and apply concatenation on it, and the value that you add, the new tuple that you provide on the right hand side of the concatenation operator, its elements will be added at the end, will be appended to the existing tuple. And when you assign the existing tuple to the operation, the result of the operation, the existing tuple will be overwritten. So it has not been modified. So I'll explain this quickly, very quickly once again. See, this was the existing tuple 6, which had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as its element. Now you want to add an element 6 at the end. So we created a new tuple having a single element followed by a comma. This point I cleared in the previous video to introduction to tuples, that if you want to create a tuple with a single element, the element must be followed by a comma surrounded by round brackets. So here what we are doing, we are concatenating the existing tuple with the new tuple named which has the element 6, and then we are assigning the result to the existing tuple only. So basically we are overwriting the existing tuple, and therefore the value of tuple 6 will now be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, So it is not modification, it is reassignment. Okay. So another way of doing this is appending more than one element, and the same thing happens here also. Now coming to the second operation that can be performed on tuples is the repetition operation. Repetition operation is performed using the repetition operator, which is the multiplication sign. Okay, so when you apply repetition operator, what will happen is that all the elements of the tuple will be repeated in sequence. So for example, if you specify a tuple which has two elements hello and world, and you perform repetition operation on it such that you use the repetition operator then followed by 3. So you want the Python interpreter to repeat all the elements of tuple 1 3 times. So what will be the result? The resulting tuple will have the elements of tuple 1 repeated 3 times. So first hello world, then the second repetition of elements hello world, and then followed by the third repetition of the elements of tuple 1. Okay, so just keep in mind that the repetition operator requires that the value how many times you want to repeat the elements must be an integer only. Okay, so this is an important point to consider when performing this operation. Okay, and similarly you can apply repetition on a tuple having a single element also, and you will get a similar result of repetition. All right. Now coming to the membership operators. So I mentioned in the previous videos of strings and lists that there are two membership operators, the in operator and the not in operator. So the in operator will check whether a particular element is present in the tuple or not, and if the element is present, the result will be Boolean true, otherwise the result will be false. And in contrast to this in operator, the not in operator does the complete opposite. The not in operator will return true when a particular element is not present in the specific tuple, and vice versa. Okay, so here is an example. We have a tuple with elements red, green and blue, and we want to check whether the string green is present in tuple 1, and since green is present, the return value or the answer is true. And now the example of not an operator. So now we have the same example, the tuple 1 with green, red, green and blue elements, and if we perform the same operation but with the not an operator, whether green is not in tuple 1, then the return value would be false. Okay. Now coming to the last operation, the slicing operation. So the slice operation can be applied to tuples using the colon operator and by specifying a starting index and ending index, and you can also optionally specify a jump value or by how many times you want the elements to appear, okay, in how many gaps. So we'll see the example of each of these. So if we have a tuple with elements 10, 20, 30 till 80, and we want to print the elements from index 2 to index 6. So 10 is at index 0, 20 is at index 1 and 30 is at index 2. So elements from 30 to 70 will be printed as shown here. So to perform the slicing operation, you specify the name of the tuple followed by square brackets, you specify the starting index, colon operator, and then the index before which you want the elements to be printed. So the end index value is never printed. The values are printed only till end index minus 1. Okay. Now another way of using slicing is that you can use the built-in function length of tuples. So we will be studying more built-in functions on tuples in the next video, but length is a very commonly used function in Python. We have seen it with strings and lists as well. And so if you want to access all the elements of the tuple, you can specify the starting index as 0 and the ending index as length of tuple 1. So all the elements will be printed. Now you can skip a particular element, and by default, if you skip the you can skip the starting index value, and if you do that, the index is taken as 0. So in this case, the first 5 elements will be printed because the starting index is 0. So the index 0 will give you element 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, and then 50. Okay. And similarly, when you skip the ending index, the elements are printed till the end of the tuple. So starting from index 2, all the elements till the end will be printed. Okay. And you can use negative indices in tuples also, and you can also specify if you want to skip elements in between. Just in this case, so every second element will be printed. So that is all for today. I hope you have understood all these operations and you can apply them in the programming that you perform on Python tuples. So I hope you like this video. If you have any doubts, you can mention in the comment section. Please also tell us which other topics and subjects you would like to study from our channel. Thank you for watching. Till we meet in the next video. Mind your exam.